So, let's start off quickly. Chro. The video is starting now. Okay, so April Fool's notes, ha ha ha. In truth, one, this is better than the Pro patch by far. But the Pro patch, really stupid. You can see my other video on it. I don't like it at all. Wastes everyone's time and money. No, not really money, but everyone's time. But time equals money, so you get it. Secondly, while some of the stuff on this April Fool's patch is a little wacky, I'd say about 50 to 75% of this is legit changes that could be done. Thirdly, this is the type of patch we should expect every 3 to 4 months in Overwatch, where every hero gets touched in a very significant way. So, I don't know if they did this as a joke, if they did this to test things out, but this is more along the line of what an experimental patch should bring, and we should see 4 or 5 of these patches a year. And that's my personal, take. Now, we'll go through this, and we'll see which ones are wacky and which ones aren't. But, you'll see. Overall, this is great. I wish they did this more often. This is the first time they've ever used the experimental card as experimental. So, first one. Receive feedback that players don't see the immediate impact of their ult, since it usually uses on Genji and Winston, who immediately jump out of the range. With this change, Ana can also enjoy the fruits of her labor with power-up darts and damage reduction. This is I would put this one in the goofy category. She doesn't need it, but it's goofy, sure. Ashe. Point blank coach gun now to the face now matches expectations more closely. It does 50% more damage. It can now deal critical damage to the head. Spread reduced by 50%. No longer knockbacks enemies. I don't know. This actually doesn't feel like that big of a crazy change. Maybe the damage is a little too high. But if everyone's complaining about Ashe because you can't get to her, well, this removes half of the problem getting there. It can one-shot? I think it can. I think Ashe's coach gun does... Is it 60 damage? I don't know how many pellets are in the coach gun. Okay, it does 90 damage per shot. So if it's getting a 50% damage increase, that's 135 damage that can crit for 100 and, yes, or 100. 270 damage would be what it could be if it was perfect. Yeah, so obviously the damage is really over the top on that one. But the idea of giving Ashe's coach gun a little more damage, and in return, it allows people to jump on her easier, which I'm cool with. That's fucking great. It really helps her, or really helps. It cements her that she's a little bit weaker close range than she is at far range, right? Which I like. The concept on this one, I don't mind. The numbers need to change, though. Baptiste, this is the one where I think, everyone is saying, go live with this. Slightly less mortality field, just doesn't have the same ring to it, but we can experiment. Maybe this device should be immortal, so we get by on a technicality. I like the idea that if he hits someone directly with a grenade, they get healed more. Which it does 60 now or 55. Either way, it'd go up to almost 90. It'd go to 80 to 90 health per hit, which is cool. As someone that uses a grenade launcher often, sure, why not? Immortality field now reduces damage by 50% instead of minimum. Cooldown reduced from 25 to 15 seconds. I like this. This is... I think this is great. Yeah. Now... It's still kind of... It retains its job. Does it? So I'm thinking in the case of... The main job for me of Immortality Field is to have counterplay to ultimates that don't have very good follow-up. You're taking 50% less damage actually allows your supports to heal a lot more as you're taking damage if this thing's up the entire time. Also, is there anything in the game that can still kill you if you take 50% less damage? Tire. Diva Bomb. A boosted Widow headshot? Grab Dragon, I think you can actually heal through it. There's a couple things. Hiding technically, yes. So, it still kind of does its job of stopping ultimates that you don't follow up on. If it does that, I'm cool with it. Bastion? 15% smaller. By far, Bastion's biggest issue is his hitbox. Yeah, that's it. Like, that is his issue. As for the weapon spread being removed, I don't think they need to do that, but the character reduction, if that goes live, he would be a contender. He would legit be pretty damn good. Brigitte, I actually love her change. I've heard players get very excited about all things crowd control, so now with this sweet combo, you can potentially stun up to stun time, or I guess use it for mobility. Ugh, boring. Why I like this? It's a skill shot that enables her to use her abilities for more different reasons. Like mobility, like they say. It's kind of like when they gave Junkrat 2 concussive mines. Sure, people are like, he's going to do a lot of damage, but at the same time, it's like, oh, he's just going to be a lot more mobile as well. I really like this one. This change should definitely go through. Call Mech another 600 damage. Ultimate charge cost reduced by 30%. I would log this to the goofy category. She already gets her ult pretty quick, and 30% less would be insane. Doomfist. Rocket Punch can now travel upwards. I like this one because it actually lowers the skill ceiling a little bit, but definitely raises the skill floor. A lot of the rollouts Doom does where he has to like hit very specific angles on something so he gets a little lift. Sorry, kernels. Are gone. You don't gotta do that. You aim up and boom, you go. I'm all for that one. Will it make him harder to hit? Technically, yes. He'll have some more mobility, but I don't mind that one. Echo. This is one where I would throw that into the goofy category because 30 seconds of 600% ult generation on any hero is insane. I won't even discuss that one anymore. It's mind-boggling. I get that it's a goofy one, but I don't like the concept of this. If they reduced her ult and you just had 2 of that hero, I could see some cool stuff being done, but the fact that she always generates at 600%, it's insane. Genji. Deflect now resets after eliminating a target. I'd put this one in the goofy category. If they made deflect weaker, as in it doesn't deflect behind them, and it's not a square in front of them, it's literally like a 45-degree angle in front of them, and that's it. And they reduced the time it did it for 1 second. I could see this. You don't want to have snowballing too much, and if all of his abilities reset on a death, then he just snowballs super hard. Getting a kill is actually incredibly strong. Hanzo. This is actually what I wanted for Hanzo. I like the idea of scattershot in concept. I thought it was really, really cool to have a sniper hero that can ricochet their shots off of something. Because what's the biggest issue for sniper heroes? People behind cover. Well, hey, if you're skilled enough with this archer who's a weaker sniper, like long range, he has the ability to ricochet shots and shoot people. I actually wanted storm arrows to go away. I want scattershot to go away. And I would just want an ability that allows him to shoot like an arrow. It would just be like every 2 seconds he can use an arrow to shoot and it ricochets. Now, if they wanted to keep it with storm arrow where you just spam 6 out, I would take away its headshot. If they take away its ability to headshot and added this, I'd be cool with that. Junkrat. I actually think this one should kind of go live. Maybe not 3 traps active, maybe 2. But the 7 seconds definitely. The funny thing about this change, and while it is goofy, it's not overpowered in the least bit. Right? Does this change make him as good as any hit scan in the game? No. No, it doesn't. So it's like, oh, okay, so it's not really broken. I can understand it being annoying. But Steel Trap is the weakest ability in Overwatch for its time. It's for 10 seconds, it's an immensely weak ability. Because if you want to compare this to other 10-second abilities, like, I mean, what is Flashbang? Isn't that like 10 seconds? Widow's Grapple? Like, we're talking serious hero-defining abilities. Hook, on a shorter cooldown than Trap is, and Trap is quite weak. Yeah. I actually like this change. It makes him more about area denial, but it doesn't put it into his primary, which can be too oppressive, too annoying for the enemy team, stuff like that. It's not super damaging, right? It's interesting. I have a little bias as a junk main. No, not at all. If I look at this, I mean, I look at all these changes from a neutral standpoint. As far as game design goes, yeah, I've never heard people complain about Trap. Maybe it's excessive again with 3, but lowering the cooldown on Trap, it's a good way to change Junkrat that doesn't make him more annoying or more oppressive, I should say. Tonight is not a joke. Don't let it happen to you. Amp it up now increases the strength of sound waves knockback. I don't see that much wrong with this. I haven't felt it in game, so I don't know if it's like if they made this ludicrous, like it's 500% stronger. But if they tied his knockback to his movement speed and they considered just his normal speed without his speed aura on to be the default knockback, and then increased it linearly with how fast he's going, that's definitely something that I would consider. I think that's fine. As long as you're looking to move Lucio in the direction of a little bit of control and then like very significant in environmental deaths, obviously. But yeah, it doesn't sound like a bad idea. Mccree. Obviously, I would put this in the joke category. Headshots now refund 1 ammo. Good McCree's hit like 30% of their headshots, so a little bit broken. Deadeye no longer to 1 tumbleweed. That's obviously a joke change. Kind of funny. May got super thick. She got 15% increase in size. She is now a tank character, and her health was increased from 250 to 400. I understand that they're talking, like, this has always been on the forum every fucking day. The problem with Mei is that she has no damage mitigation, and people are like, what about Ice Wall? And it's like, well, Ice Wall, if you're using it for damage mitigation, all of a sudden it becomes shit. It really does. It becomes really bad. Because all the cool ways you can use Mei Ice Wall goes away because you gotta save your own ass. And 400 health alone, on that big of a hitbox, now that it's been increased. No. Then she doesn't do that much damage. Right? She's not like a Zarya with 400 health that does 280. 170, 180 damage. That can go through shields and whatnot. She just... I know she slows and freezes, but she lacks the serious punch and lacks damage mitigation. But I'm not against the idea. Mercy, for those that you don't know, Mercy and D.Va have one of the largest projectiles in the game, which is their primary attack. It is 0.25 meters in size. And Junkrat's primary attack is 0.2, if you want reference. Zen is 0.15, and I believe Torb and Hanzo have the smallest projectile at 0.1. But yeah, this is kind of funny that she can just dash at enemies and just beat the shit out of them. Moira. This is actually, I talked about Moira a lot back in the day, and I was like, look guys, if you nerf her primary attack or her range, you gotta give her more damage, and I'm like, you guys won't like that. So while she has less damage, or she has less range, she gets a significant amount more damage. Like, if you think Tracers and Genjis complain about Moira now, if this ever went through, they would quit the game, because Moira would just beat the shit out of them. But I do like the Bionic Orb. I shouldn't say I like it, it's just, I don't mind the mechanic. Cooldown reduced by 1 second for every 100 health restored to an ally with Bionic Grasp. So the more you heal people, the faster your Bionic Orb comes off of cooldown. Which... it's weird because you can't have multiple Bionic Orbs out at one time. So if you shot one, you healed your team, and its cooldown got reduced drastically, and you can use it again before your other one's already up. Well, you know what? Maybe that makes sense, because the orb does kind of do some funky shit and go some wonky ways. So, okay. Yeah, maybe this is a way to do it. And now I'm trying to think about... she's healing more, so she gets orb more. If she uses healing orb on her team, then she actually starts healing less with her primary. Which is good, because then she can actually use her primary attack to get back her charge. I do like that. I do like that, where you use orb to cover your team while you deal damage. Yeah. I like what that does. More than just rewarding healing, it actually opens up more opportunities for her. Which I'm all about. As for making her damage increased, fucking Godspeed on this. Yeah, that 50% damage increase for 25% loss in range. Significant. Arisa, everyone always said this. She needs to move faster because she has 4 legs. So they did that. I have no idea on the repercussions of this change. I guess she can get away faster? Like she can turn around and run with Fortify? Like, I don't know. Does she Fortify and run forward and engage? Does she start, like, being like a wrecking ball where she forces people out? I don't know. It's interesting. I don't hate it. I don't hate the idea of a fast tank. It's just in combination with her other abilities. You're on the flank, and Arisa just chases your ass down. 40% is faster than Genji Tracer. Yes, very, very much so. So we know quick calculator here. All heroes move at 5.5 meters a second, except for Tracer and Genji, which is 6. So you times that by 40%. Yeah, they would be... She's significantly faster than Genji and Tracer. We're nerfing Barrage so that it will now on average result in one less player death, meaning her own. Because of Blast going down, that's a joke change, because it's already very good. It's already on a low cooldown. Like, remember when I was talking about Trap being a really weak ability because it's on 10-second cooldown? Concussive Blast, an amazing ability on a 9-second cooldown. Barrage can now move while casting. This feels terrifying. Absolutely fucking terrifying. The whole thing with her and Reaper is that I always call it 0-point damage. Pharah and Reaper are the only ultimates in the game where if you press the button, you instantly deal damage right now. Most other ultimates, either you transform for like a second or two and do something, or requires charge up time, or something like that. Or it's just a weaker where it doesn't do that much damage. Pharah and Reaper, when you press the ultimate button, especially Pharah, it's an instant death if she's right next to you. And the only way to kind of keep this in check is that, yeah, it is a very risky ult, but so is Reaper's. But the benefit they get from it is that they can kill someone now, which I like. So this is terrifying. I'm just going to consider all the Pharah changes a bit of a joke. Yeah, if she's moving the same speed as before, no way. Reaper, Shadow Step cast time reduced from 1.5 to 1 second. I'm fine with that. Wraith form now grants flight for its duration. This sounds a little whack. But I like it. It's funny. I actually like this change. One, it allows him to use his ult in more places, because it's always like, look, the best thing about Reaper is if you fall down on top of a team with your ultimate, right? Well, now you can do it in more places. Great, that's great. We're enabling Reaper. That's cool. Two, remember, DPS heroes are about mobility. And so this gives Reaper an instant mobility where he's not standing still, teleporting, and then standing still and screaming while he does it, right? So whenever you increase a DPS hero's mobility, I'm like, all right, that's probably in the right direction instead of increasing their damage or anything like that. So I'm all both of these changes. I'm like, oh no, this would be good. This just allows you to use Reaper in more ways, which is Overwatch's entire issue, right? The entire issue in Overwatch is that people want counters, or I mean, they don't want counters. All right, here's what people in Overwatch want. They want their heroes to have no counters, and they want the heroes they don't like to kill. Just have all the counters. What this change does is it makes Reaper have more available options, what makes him more available against more different types of strategies, which just makes him viable overall. This is the direction Overwatch needs to go to, where every hero is viable in more situations, so that they're just overall more viable and more useful. I think that does this for Reaper, and I would say, because of the reasons I listed, yes, I would actually put these changes live. Reinhardt, 200% more steering. Remember when I said, complained about the Pro patch, and I was like, they could ask for things that happen in Overwatch 2 right now. Right? They've demonstrated, this is what they're doing in Overwatch 2. In the Pro patch, they could have been like, we want all DPS heroes to move faster. They could have done that. They could have made role passives a thing. And I'm all for more control on this. I see nothing wrong. Roadhog, I do like how they worded this. The new cooldown for Chain Hook is 4 seconds, but missing a hook will demoralize Roadhog enough that he can't muster the enthusiasm to try again soon, doubling his cooldown time. So, If he hits a hook, it's a 4-second cooldown instead of 8. Is that overpowered? We're borderlining a little bit goofy. Now, here's the thing. If we talk about Overwatch 2 changes, and DPS heroes are faster, all of a sudden I'm like, okay, yes, this could actually be a thing. Because if DPS heroes are faster and they have an easier chance to dodge it, all for it. Supports really aren't, around. Most supports are medium to long range that they can deal fine. So I don't see a big issue with. So I'm thinking of like multiple hooks against a tank. I'm like, actually, I like that. That really punishes tanks. I like that against tanks. Well, what about supports? Well, supports really shouldn't have been getting hooked that much. They have smaller hitboxes, so they usually don't die. Specifically, Ana, Mercy. Brig has a shield, so it's not a big deal. Baptiste is usually longer range, and he's hopping around. And then I'm like, well, what about DPS heroes? Well, that's where we start to have our issue. It makes the Hog 1v1 a lot more one-sided, doesn't it? Whoever hooks first wins. Remember everyone said whoever hooks first loses? Was the loser? And at that point, if we were okay with whoever hooks first loses, we should just be as okay whoever hooks first wins now, right? If you're playing sides, and you've already picked a side previously in time, right? And now you're like, oh, if it's the other way, we can't pick sides. It's like, no, you already picked a side. It's just not your side, or it's not the offensive side. And no, it doesn't, because one hog could hook, and then the other hog could still hook, right? Doesn't really matter. They're still on the same-ish cooldown, just the one guy did it first. So he's going to get it up sooner, but that's the case with 8 seconds as well. Sigma, these Sigma changes are so goofy. I don't really know what to think. Is he still a tank? In the experimental games I've played, I'll just say we haven't had good hit scans. And I think a good hit scan would just shut Sigma down. But the fact that he's fucking silent and he's just floating around wherever he can go, it's really weird. I almost kind of like him because like you have to give him attention, which is the tank's role. Because he does do significant damage, he can just be throwing rocks. It's really weird. He honestly feels like a bad Pharah a lot of the time. I don't know, like, I don't see Pharah fucking dishing out goddamn rocks and stunning people and getting AoE damage off. Well, I guess that she does, but I mean, you could use both. I don't know. I don't mind it. Like, as goofy as it is, and I've seen them, and I'm like, what the fuck does a Junkrat do against a flying Sigma? I don't hate it. I really don't hate it. Suck his less cooldown and gives him shield. I know. No, I get it. I almost want to make the change just so we can see what it does. I like this change. It makes it a lot different. Soldier. So, tactical visor aiming for headshots, I think, is the goofy change that can't go live. He kills people under a second. No. Sprint generating 6 ammo per second while active. I don't mind that. I guess people are just conceptually, alright, if Soldier's supposed to shoot, run, shoot, run, shoot, run, whenever he reloads, he's reloading slower, and it's really shitty. So this really supports his running gun style, and I don't mind that. I think it supports what the hero's supposed to be. Yeah. Sombra, we don't know her stealth changes, but I read online. She's a lot faster when stealth. Damaging her doesn't remove stealth. it just reveals her for a second. And they're saying her she comes out of stealth a lot faster. And all three of those changes, I'm like, that's not bad, right? The focus is on her primary fire. It makes her a lot stealthier, lets her get in and do something, and then get out really fast, which I'm all with. Sim, I actually think this needs to be done. So Zarya does. For those of you that don't know, Zarya has a longer range than Sim right now, and only does like 10 or 20 less damage a second with it. And Zarya gets max damage a lot more often than Sim does. So this actually should go live. Torb, this is a joke one. Just because it buffs the hammer. I actually really like Torb having 2 turrets that are weak. It just felt like you could just keep tabs on people more often, and you could just get a lot more. You didn't even get that much more damage off, but it was just like, okay, I feel like I'm always doing something. It didn't feel as bad when your turret died. A lot of these things happened with 2 turrets, and it was like, this actually feels much better. And they could even lower the damage, make turrets do 50% less damage and 50% less health. But this is a joke, right? It's a hammer. Against any competent player, you're just going to get killed. The Tracer one is absolutely a joke. Holy shit. Recall gives her all her blinks back. Man, fuck that. Yeah, fuck that, man. Tracer's already super strong. She does not need anything. Widowmaker says lower health means we can give her more damage, right? Widow's Kiss, damage increased from 13 to 15, spread reduced by 30%. I don't like this, and I know this is a joke, but I don't like this just because I don't want her primary fire to be anything strong. If you get to Widow, I feel like she should be very weak. Charge shots now pierce enemies. This is actually what I wanted. What I wanted with Widow is I wanted her damage multiplier go down to 1.5. Basically, everyone goes down to 1.5. I'll hit scan. But Widow, when she ults, she would get her 2.5 multiplier back. It would be a transformation ult, and she'd get her old multiplier back 2.5, and her attacks would pierce shields and people. And the idea was like, all right, Widow loses the ability to one-shot normally, but then her ultimate becomes this transformation ability where she can one-shot, and since it's an ultimate that kind of tells everyone that you transformed, now everyone has this global indicator of, oh shit, she's going to kill everyone. Hide, or we have to play this way for 10, 15 seconds, and then we can start playing Overwatch normally instead of always hiding the whole time. There's other changes I went with Widow, but that was one of the main concepts I wanted. But piercing enemies, I'm actually kind of all for that. I got no problem with that. It make her feel fun. It would make her feel unique. It would line up some fucking amazing shots that everyone would be talking about for a while. I mean, when I had the railgun in Quake, fuck man, like when you got 2 kills with the rail, you're like, hell yeah, you lined that up. You got 3 kills with the rail, you're a fucking baller. Winston. It's so weird, and I talked about this before, or during the game. The enemy damage now grants Winston ultimate charge to his barrier. This is the thing where, originally with Overwatch, you didn't want shields to give ultimate. Because then you're de-incentivizing people to shoot shields, so then they just stay up forever. But you don't want it to give, and you also don't want it to give ultimate because, or for you don't want offense to gain ult charge off of a shield because then the defense doesn't want to use their shields, and it's just a lot weirder. So it's like, what kind of player behavior do you want to reinforce? But with Winston, if only Winston gets ult from his shield, well, all Winston does is he becomes, a big boy. He gets 1,000 health, in which case don't get me wrong, it's a good ultimate. But it's one of the few ultimates in the game that has a very harsh penalty, meaning you can feed 1,000 hit points to the enemy team. Um, so it's just weird. I don't actually hate it. And that's why I say it's weird, because I know it breaks all of the player reinforcement stuff. But Winston just becomes a big target, and then you start building alt off of him, and it's not that big of a deal. That being said, the increases melee damage you see here from 40 to 90, melee knockback increased by 40%. I'm sure a pro player would absolutely dunk on you with this change. I think the Primal Rage change is actually the joke change. The Barrier Projector change is not that crazy. It's leaning towards concepts that I'm okay with. Whether this is the correct interpretation and way to do them, I can't say. But I don't care about this one. This one seems interesting. This one just seems a bit ridiculous. Wrecking Ball. Roll is now always active. Damage increased from 50 to 60 on roll. All ability cooldowns reduced by 3 seconds. I just don't know. I know it's a joke change. I know it's April Fool's, but could you have a hero that just rolls around and hits people and slams? You do nothing in first person. And I would say, yeah, you could. If we have heroes like Mercy where you really don't shoot and attack, you just kind of heal your teammates, and once you heal them once, you just can look whatever way you want, and they're still healed. I don't know. I don't see this as a bad thing. It's super off, but I like that. I like the fact that you can pick a tank that literally doesn't shoot. You can pick an FPS game where you can pick a character and he doesn't shoot. I don't mind that at all. I like that. When you talk about the whole point of Overwatch is accessibility, right? It's about bringing people from different genres into the game, into a genre that is immensely tough to get into at first. First-person shooters are one of the hardest games besides old school RTS games to get into for new players. And it's because old blood is in these games. And you people, when Overwatch first came out, there's people in my chat, there's people around that, you're going up against me. There are people, we may have played in the same game before, and it was your first FPS ever. And what are you going up against? A fucking 25 year veteran of FPS games that played, pretty much the most hardcore games, old school Quake, old school Unreal Tournament. Fuck, I even played, what was that stupid third-person shooter from Korea? Oh my god. It was all about swords and guns. Oh my god, the goddamn K-style butterfly technique. I can't even remember. Guns! That was it, Zinder. Thank you. Guns the Duels. Holy shit did I play that game, and that was some hardcore shit. And you have people with no experience going up against me. That's difficult to get people hyped up and enjoying and playing. And Overwatch really did that well. That is what Overwatch did, and it was amazing. So when you're talking about accessibility, you're like, well, we got a hero that doesn't shoot. Fuck yeah, do it. Launch it. I'm actually kind of okay with this. No, it kind of feels bad. Feels bad, man. They put a lot of effort into the animations behind Wrecking Ball transforming in and out. Right? It's all, you don't get to see the Hammond. You don't get to see him being all cute and squirrely or whatever, or hamstery, whatever you want to call it. I get that, but man, at the same time, would be cool. Zarya change is actually interesting. I like them. I really like this because They're on a shared cooldown with 2 charges. Which cooldown did it take? Because her self bubble is 10 seconds and her ally bubble is 8 seconds. I like it because you have more options with it. You can use 2 bubbles really quick, and then you're very weak for a while. It's just like Concussive Mind, right? Where Junkrat got 2 Concussive Minds, it's like, oh sweet, I get 2 of them, so I can use both of them right now. And you're like, yes, but then you gotta wait 16 seconds if you really want to use 2 of them again. And you're like, okay, that's a long time. I'm definitely weak for a longer period of time, which is, it's actually the same with Zarya, because she has 8-second cooldown on her ally bubble. So if you use 2 of them, all of a sudden, okay, 16 seconds, I can't protect me or anyone else. But she does fucking massive damage if you use your bubbles correctly. Now, if you didn't use your bubbles correctly, you would be in a bit of hurt. So I like this change. It just gives her more versatility. And it actually is technically a buff. Because if you use a self-charge, it's 8 seconds. Because from what chat's telling me is, basically the bubble cooldown is now 8 seconds. So self got buffed. It actually got a 2-second decrease. So now it's on 8 seconds apiece. I do think her beam width should go down, though. I don't like it that Zarya basically, I think when it's full charge, doesn't it have a larger width than, like, Junkrat's shot? Like, I think it goes up to 2.5 or 0.25 meters. Or is that the one thing they changed on her? They changed it so it's constant. Okay. I would almost want to lower her damage again. I still think Zarya does way too much damage. Yeah, it was before her beam was in a consistent size. They made that more consistent when they made her AoE on her right click more consistent as well. That's right. I don't know. Again, my worry is that Zarya she does too much damage. If Zarya's at a high charge and she has 2 bubbles, I don't think there's a single hero that kills her in the game. Four seconds of bubbles against a 160 damage hero. Smallest hitbox of all the tanks, though, right? Yeah, are these going live? No, none of these are. Oh, here's the thing. I think they really threw this out as like, haha, look at our jokes. Wink. There may be some in here that you can check. There's a couple in here that are like, it's like when you ask a girl out on April Fools. Yeah, it's what do they call it? It's Schrodinger's douchebag. Right? It's where some guy comes into a place and he tells a joke that's like edgy, and based on how people take it, he can either go with it or against it. Right? People who are shitty at comedy or shitty at jokes will do this with racist stuff. They'll throw out a racist joke, and if it hits good, they're like, "Oh, I'm so funny." And if it hits bad, they're like, "I didn't mean that, guys. I was just being stupid." Right? Schrodinger's douchebag is what they call it. I would think Zarya needs a small nerf with this change. I like this change, but again, I still think she does too much damage. Increasing her decay rate. So what I would want for Zarya is I want Zarya to actually get 50 to 60 charge per bubble, but her decay is like goes up 100%. It goes from it's at 1.8 decay a second. Make that 5% decay a second. And basically what I would want is her just to be able to, and actually what I wanted was her cooldown on her bubbles go down to 6 seconds or so, and they only last 1 second, and they only block 100 damage. And the idea is this churn and burn, where Zarya's doing more to protect against specific events, like, oh, there's an ability coming in, like dynamite, protecting against that, protecting against like some specific thing, almost like a Diva's defense matrix, where you don't want to just hold on to someone and just use all your defense matrix up. You actually want to be like, oh, there's an ability. There's Ash's Dynamite. Eat that. Oh, there's Moira's Orb. Eat that. Stuff like that. And that's kind of what I want Bubble to do. Give it more alt charge, or not more alt charge. Give it more charge when it gets hit. But then make it decay like crazy. So whenever she gets a high charge, she has to use it or she loses it right away. You know? I like this change. Zenyatta. This is a joke one. He can levitate up to 3 seconds by holding jump. So why I'm the only reason I'm wishy-washy on this one at all, because it seemed like a super big joke. It would allow him high ground areas. Is his one weakness being negated? That's true. It's enough to get on the bus in the Bondi at best, I think. Oh. That's it? If you can't levitate that far... It's slow. Okay. Then yeah, it's a joke change. So Zen's design, obviously, more damage oriented, right? It has decent horizontal movement. Alright, hear me out. Hear me out. This is what I want from this change. He doesn't go up any higher. If they made it so Zenyatta stays the same height as he just holds down right click, I would be cool with that. So while he wouldn't be able to get access to high ground, what it does is it allows him to get across places where Tracer can dash across, right? So King's Row, he could actually be on the top right when attacking, shoot from atop there, and then he can float over to that balcony section. You know what I'm saying? And it would grant some hero who is... He can do that now. That's what I'm saying, but I mean, I don't want Zen to be able to go like this. I want him only to go left and right. I don't want any horizontal movement whatsoever. Or, sorry, no vertical movement whatsoever. Only horizontal. Because it would give him... So there's two types of mobility in Overwatch, right? You have vertical mobility and horizontal mobility. Different maps have different advantages for these, right? I'm really trying to think of horizontal mobility. Also, it would protect Zen against boofs. Like, right, environmental deaths would be very rare against Zen if he can float for 3 seconds. It would also be funny if someone boops him into the air, like with Junker Concussive Mine, and he holds down jump at the top. Then he would levitate up there as well. I like that it protects him against environmental deaths. I really like that for a Zen, because he already has a big weakness of just being an easy target. So it's kind of cool to give him some environmental immunity. And then Sombra hacks him as he's floating over a gap. That'd be hilarious. But if I'm running through map knowledge. I'm trying to think of places. It would allow him to be a little bit more aggressive. As stupid as it is, or defensive. It just allows him more versatility in a way that I think with only horizontal movement would be nice. Because he could hover over Numbani point 1, right? Everyone pushes up on that choke point in the top right on defense, and he could hover over to the other side, right? That'd be really cool. It has limited applications, but in the applications that it does have limit, like where it works, it's really neat. Rialto, yeah, the balconies on Rialto would be a good point. It would give him another reason to take high ground, which I like. I mean, actually, I like a lot of things about this. You get across on Volskaya point 2. You get over to the mid thing on Volskaya point 1. bunch of stuff on Anubis. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things you can do with it. I'm actually cool with it. As long as it's horizontal only, it doesn't grant him vertical mobility. I think that would be a reasonable change. The cool thing is that he's still easy to dive. Yeah, he's still like he still retains most of his weakness, but gives him options, which I'm cool with. Yeah, I actually thinking about it, I don't mind this change. Don't mind it at all, except for the fact that he gets vertical mobility. But that's enough about talking about this patch. Overall, guys, this is what not every patch. This is what we should be getting quarterly patches like this, where every hero gets touched in a significant way. This is the first time I saw Blizzard use the experimental as an experimental. This is the first time. Like, yeah, they did the solo tank thing. Cool. All right, so maybe it's the second time I've seen this. But they should be doing this very often and seeing what people like and what they don't like and what's fun and what's cool and what works. They should be abusing the fact that they have an experimental card, but they don't. That's it.